Welcome back to This American Ride podcast, where we talk about issues that affect you, the average American. Speaking of unintended consequences, 1994, all right, year we happen to graduate high school.
Yeah.
1994, the Stanford Federal Credit Union was the first bank to offer online banking. 1994.
Changed some things.
Before 1994, and even well after 1990, because I feel like I was still writing checks and like mailing in bills for
that was a slow.
time.
I think it was like a slow process.
I was a slow adapter to online banking, to the point where I don't even know that I personally adapted to online banking, because now Stacy pays all the bills. So
you never had to, because
feel like
someone else adapted for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just because I just I'm not good at that stuff.
But it's changed. It's changed the world.
Your kids may never write a check.
They probably wouldn't know how to write a check.
We used to write checks all the time.
You know, I think mine would. I think they're a little. Yeah. They're a little. We tried to keep them a little.
You tried to keep them
a little sane, but yeah, no, it's a whole generation that like. What am I doing with a check? Like,
you had to balance a checkbook. It was a skill.
Balancing a checkbook.
It was a skill. You had to.
I'm sure Stacy still does that.
I don't know if she does or not. My mom does it.
Carolyn does for sure.
My mom has got like the checkbook registry, and
I don't.
I'm like, what the heck is that?
I'm like, if I want to find it, I'll just go in and look on my online banking, and it'll show me all my stuff. But the reality is, it's bad, because if somebody was somehow figured out a way to like scam me for money, like a few bucks a month,
you might not know.
I wouldn't notice at all. No, I wouldn't notice. I wouldn't notice, because I don't really check and look down and be like, okay, yeah, that was mine. That was mine. That was mine. What is that? What's that charge? Like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I just assume that all my charges are correct.
And I feel like so we talked about every positive and the negative. I feel like there's a couple of things with online banking. I feel like the positive is the technology allows you to kind of always know what's pending.
Yes.
So a charge hits, you know that charge may not be paid, but it's pending. So you can see that it's pending. Where before, the only way that you knew that something was pending was if you wrote down a check that you wrote in your ledger, and you went through and figured out how much money was there and how many checks you wrote, and you could figure out that check had not yet hit the bank.
Right.
Or you had to wait to the end of the month when your banking statement, because they sent those banking statements out like once a month, you had to wait and get your banking statement, and then you would see or find your errors, because there was always like an error. So I feel like in a way it gives people a platform to be more efficient and more accurate with their money.
Yeah.
That's the bonus, right?
Yeah.
The negative is I feel like we spend more money, because the automatic subscriptions and online stuff that people have now, I feel like is something that people probably wouldn't have written a check for. I'm paying $9.99 a month for an iCloud.
Yeah.
Am I going to write a check to Apple every month for $9? I don't know that I am.
But that's a huge part of the advancements of technology, that we have all those things now that you pay extra for that we wouldn't have back when we were writing checks.
Yeah.
So
we didn't have them.
You know, and come to think of it, like when you go into that process of saying that, like I did realize, like I do have a way, and this is only because my wife was like, you gotta turn this on, is that you have like the ability to turn something on so that every time you do something with your card, I get an alert on my smartphone.
Yes.
That shows that, or anything that was done with my card, my debit card, credit card, whatever.
Yep.
I get an alert so that I see it, so that I can click on it and say, oh yeah. And usually it's like, I just went to Wawa, and by the time I get to the car, it pops up, and I'm like, yeah, I did that. You know, I'm good. But if I didn't do anything, and all of a sudden one pops up, I look at it like, what is that? Like, make sure. And then 9 times out of 10, probably 9.5 times out of 10, it's some sort of online thing that I'm set up to automatically charge. But if someone did some sort of scamming thing, and they're trying to buy something with my card in the Walmart in Arkansas, like it's going to pop up and I'm going to be able to dispute it instantly
Like, yo, that's not me.
because I'm not in Arkansas. So I will say that's another reason I'm comfortable not balancing a checkbook, because I get every alert for every charge on my card, so I can confirm right off the bat
What it was.
that it's accurate.
So, and that leads us to our next item here, which is the ATM, the automatic teller machine, which I feel like was a slow adapter. First ATM, 1967 in London. Shortly, Switzerland was very quick to adopt them. You know, those Swiss guys, man, they are all about their banks and their watches. And by slow, I feel like this, of the technology that we're talking about, I feel like this was the slowest adoption. Because I remember my parents, and this had to be in the 80s, it wasn't in the 70s, and we're talking about 67, the first one was invented. I remember my parents getting an ATM machine, an ATM card, because I remember in Browns Mills when they put in the first machine, and it wasn't an ATM, it was called the Mac.
Same thing.
It is the same thing. But if you talk to Stacy, who's from North Jersey, we used to go to the Mac machine, and I still would call it like the Mac machine.
We used to call it the Mac. Like,
Yep, Money Access Center. That's what
Yeah.
it stood for. But
tap the Mac.
that was Tap the Mac.
Yeah,
That's
tap
it.
the Mac, baby.
So, but for people who grew up 100 miles away, they had no idea what a Mac was for some reason. It was always
I
just
guess
an
that
ATM.
maybe was regional. I don't know.
I feel like it might have been regional, and it had that. I could still see like the Mac logo, with the blue and the
We
green.
used Mac. We always said Mac, like the early days, even when we were in high school. Me, my family, my sisters, my parents said Mac, and somewhere along the way, it just kind of
Became
changed
ATM.
to ATM.
Yep. So
Which I don't know why, but it's the same damn thing.
But talking about slow adoption, it wasn't revolutionized until like 2007. I feel like
Really?
yeah. Well, this is I have my notes here crossed up, but ATMs, Macs, all kind of the same thing. Online banking wasn't revolutionized until 2007.
Right.
Right, because in 2007, Apple came in with a smartphone. By that time, people were getting efficient home computers. Everything was like, the environment was like taking place for online banking to really get in there, and ATMs obviously being part of that. But you figure 1994 to 2007, of the technologies that we're talking about, 1967, those, I feel like this is the stuff that of everything was the slowest to adopt.
I know why that is, though.
Why? Because people and their money.
People resist it because they don't
Security.
trust it.
Yep.
Security. I mean, I still have
Reservations about online banking.
no, but I have in-laws, parents that are
Mm-hmm.
like, not so much my parents, but definitely my in-laws are like very hesitant to have bills be paid online,
Yeah.
things like that. Like, they're very skeptical, and you got to think there's probably a large population of older people when that started becoming popular that were not going to trust that.
Yeah.
So they were they were refusing to be a part of that. So it took them getting older and the younger generations of technology kids coming up to like kind of weed them out, and for that to grow, because so many people when that came out were like, no, they're not going to do that. They want to have their checkbook. They want to go into the bank and talk to the teller because it's locally in the town, you knew them. It was kind of a relationship kind of thing when it came to money, and you trusted people. So
Because
you wanted to know them.
Your banks were small. Loans
Yeah.
came from small banks.
Right.
Those days are gone.
Yeah.
Small banks don't exist anymore.
No.
I'm actually surprised that we still have branches, because as of 2022, 78% of U.S. people prefer mobile banking or via app or website, and only 29% of people prefer in-person banking.
Yeah.
We still do go to the bank on occasion,
Okay.
but
It's for specific stuff.
yes.
Like, Carolyn had to go to the bank today because she received a check for a real estate check for selling a home.
Yep.
And because they still have like certain amounts, you can't do the
Remote.
remote.
Take the picture and deposit it.
Yeah, so
Yep.
you got a certain amount, you have to take it in. So she had to go there for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine at some point that'll
I
change.
can't imagine we're far from that. I can't imagine
No,
we're
we
far
can't be
from
too
that.
far from that. But yeah, you're right. Like it used to be, you used to be able to go into your local bank. You needed a loan, and it was like a personal one-on-one connection with the banker, and you could pitch them whatever it was you were trying to get a loan for,
Starting a
and
business.
they know you, and you could kind of sell them or pitch them on giving you the loan, and they would do it based on knowing you and your plan, blah blah blah. Now that's all gone. Like, the whole personal connection for any kind of loan is like you put this, put all this information into the system, and the computer tells you whether or not you're getting that loan or not.
Yep.
It's pretty like cut and dry. It's
It's
faster, but it's not personal at all. There's no.
They're not even called personal loans anymore.
No,
I feel like,
no.
and I think that's the thing that's changed, right? They're not even called personal loans. So it's, I mean, when you went to get your house, you went to a bank to get a loan. You know, you went to a bank
Yeah.
to get a mortgage, and I
You
feel
don't do that
like,
anymore.
you know, even my parents' mortgage, I remember, was held by a company called Kislak Mortgage, and Kislak was based. It was a New Jersey-based company, that New Jersey-based bank mortgage company that was in Newark. Because I can remember, I know where the old Kislak building was in Newark, New Jersey. That those days are gone.
Yeah.
Those days are gone. So even like when you get a mortgage, you might get a mortgage through, you know, somebody, and then they will sell that mortgage to another mortgage company
Quick too.
within 30 to 60 days.
That happened our very first mortgage, and that's going back to
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah. People just buying and selling mortgages.
It was like, yeah, we got our mortgage, we bought our first home, and then all of a sudden, you know, obviously my wife's the smart one. She's telling me, yeah, someone else has our mortgage now. I'm like, I don't understand. Can you draw me a picture with crayons? Because I don't understand what you're talking about.
And you have no say over that.
No, that's
So-
not that. Yeah, you have no say.
I remember we got our first mortgage through Weichert Mortgage, and within 60 days of being in a house, our mortgage company was sold to a company called Aquin, who is literally the scum of the earth mortgage companies on the planet. They're just a terrible company to deal with. They've had multiple class action lawsuits against them, and as a consumer, you have no say.
How did that ever fly? Like,
Wow.
how did that ever happen? Like, because
I don't know.
I go pick who I want to have. You know, I have to go and I choose who I'm trying to get my mortgage through, and I go through all the bull crap that you got to do to get a mortgage, and I do that because whatever reason.
And then they sell your
3
mortgage.
weeks later they sell it to somebody that I don't like, that now I have to deal with, and is a problem, and they're a headache, and you know, nothing's ever smooth. Like, who thought that was okay, and how do we allow that to happen?
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem.
There's stuff we put up with.